welcome to Latinitas. Come on in, Ryan.
Hi, this is Ryan Morris with eXp Realty, and this is another edition of Community Connection. It's my pleasure to be here with Laura Donnelly of Latinitas, an awesome nonprofit here in Austin that's doing really great things in the community.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, it's good to see you after all these years.
Thanks for putting this together, Ryan.
Absolutely. Now's the time where we just do some background chit chat, just learn about ourselves, no, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about you. So, it's funny, I've known you for a while, and like a couple of weeks ago was the first time I actually come here and seen your facility, and I was very impressed with everything, and it's really awesome. So, why Latinitas? How did it come about? How did it start? Who's the brainchild of someone? So would you tell us a little bit about that?
I've known you for almost 17 years, and that's about when we were starting Latinitas. I had moved here from New York. I had been in publishing. I wanted to get more into writing. I took a class at UT as a grad student called Latinos in Media. Super inspired. I grew up in New York City and New Jersey, and so a mixed race family. Like we're Irish, but all my cousins were of just different backgrounds, Peruvian, Cuban. So we had a lot of different identities, foods, experiences together. When I got to that class, it brought up a lot about my own household, of like who was encouraged to kind of move forward to higher ed, who was maybe a little more shy or reticent about her goals. And it definitely had a lot to do with identity, it had a lot to do with culture, it had a lot to do with maybe my Latina aunts were more productive of my cousins. I get to this class, I meet this other person that is also equally interested in representation, media. I'd come from media, and we both start bothering the professor. Like, we don't want to work on what's on the syllabus. We definitely had to create a project that was going to benefit Latinos, and it had to be media oriented. But we were like, we want to do our own thing. So we were both pestering him. He said, you need to meet, these two kind of irritating.
Oh, so he put you two together.
He did.
Okay. He was like, they're both pestering me in a similar way. Why don't you go pester each other or something like that?
and her name is Alicia Rascon. She was an undergrad, I was a graduate student, so we're like, we want to do our idea. He said if we could get people to help, that was totally fine. We rallied, we really wanted to create a piece of media that was going to speak to young Latinas. The whole semester we were watching really powerful representations of Latinos in media, but there's so few, right? So he was really
Well, and this was, what year was this?
So this was 2000.
2000, right? Because obviously there's been more representation now, but you think back to 2000 and
it has, but it hasn't. I think particularly for kids, I think we're getting to see more narratives that are reflecting, of course, diversity of women, diversity of different, backgrounds and ethnicities in the United States, but still maybe not necessarily within kids media. So the focus of the magazine was going to empower Latina girls and really reflect them.
So initially it was the idea was a magazine.
So it started as a magazine. It's still published on our website. It still pulls content from the outreach that we do. So we wanted girls to be involved, and that's where the whole mission evolved from, that we would empower girls using media and technology, that they would not just make a podcast or a film or create a blog, but they would also understand the concepts of what platforms can they broadcast that on,
right?
How do they create their own tech, their own websites to promote themselves?
So there's a lot more of an application focus as well as just kind of a theory in what they're doing.
Yeah, and like how you express yourself keeps evolving, and that is evolving with tech. So even when you're making a podcast, you're having to edit, you're having to use Pro Tools, whatever platforms are out there. Girls in Latinitas are using those traditional forms, but now we have more to work with.
Sure.
So VR, augmented reality,
right.
Even 3D printing is just another venue to express themselves.
Cool. And so you have some 3D printing going on here?
They do. They made fidget spinners, of course, at the time. Actually
that was
they were
the thing.
So last year,
right?
but when we were doing it last year, it was still very relevant. But we meet with 15 schools up and down the east side of Austin, from north to southeast, all the way to the very, far corners of those neighborhoods. We do 7 traditional camps every summer.
Oh, wow.
So the outreach part really grew into something actually probably bigger than the magazine.
Right. So I'm sure all the principals know who you are now and things like that.
I think so. Like we have partnered with, if you add it all up, because we're not just in Austin, but this is our base. We're in El Paso. My co-founder was from there, so she took it there. We've recently done stuff in San Francisco. So when you add it all up, we've been at about 142 campuses of schools, libraries, community centers, using the MAC, using Zaragoza Community Center. We were in the Pan Am Rec Center. We used every space that had free computers and free internet.
Right. Excellent. And so, when you're doing these programs, you said you have some summer programs and some summer programming camps as well. Are those, sleepover camps, or is it a day camp, or where does it take place?
They're all day. We're going to do them on site. So we have this new headquarters, which is 2,400 square feet.
Is that where we are now?
That's where we are.
Oh, right here. Okay, all right. We'll take.
Beautiful.
Don't worry, we're going to take a tour later. We're going to have a tour of this, so don't worry.
We'll cue the music from the Jeffersons.
Right.
We've moved on up.
Oh, nice.
To the east side.
True. That is true. That is actually
to a deluxe office in the Springdale General.
In the Springdale General. It's second level, so I mean, it's sort of in the sky.
It is. It's actually, I never thought of that, and for us, it is elevated. Like we were and for many years we were in free space, or we were sharing office space, or we were in donated space.
Right.
This is the first space that's like room enough for everyone to work here, and then room enough to do some programs in here too.
Awesome. That's
and
cool.
The air conditioning works, and the toilets
nice,
function.
nice.
So you don't always get that.
That's true.
That's old
true.
Austin.
There's lighting. It is very comfortable.
In nonprofit, sometimes you have to really just deal with it.
It's come a long way. We
have served over 33,000 girls since we started Latinitas.
Really? Wow.
So because of that hustle, because we had a lot of Latino and other engagement, people were like, oh, this is something I wish that I had growing up. I would have liked to have explored representation in media and tech. We, even though we are teaching, the fundamentals of kind of productions, it's always in the context of culture. It's always in the context of media literacy. If they're going to make a video game, they explore and research what are the video games out there that have a feminine hero or a Latina that's a character. There's very few.
Sure.
So then they're tasked to do it themselves.
Cool. And it sounds like you need some people that have a big knowledge base to be involved and to teach them and to run these programs. So where are those people coming from?
I love Austin. I think we would have never been able to start this anywhere else. I think people here want to do something that gives back. There are people here that maybe were waiting to take part in something that really spoke to them. The fact that we're bicultural, that we're bilingual, that we're prioritizing a community of girls that maybe aren't always put at the top of the list. It just attracted college students. It attracted the corporate sector that's emerging here, that people are moving here from all over. And some of them are Latino, and some of them are not, but they've come from more diverse cities.
Sure.
So they're very attracted to coming to Latinitas and helping out. And then we can engage the engineers, because we definitely need that technical advising and to keep up with what we're doing.
Right.
And the creatives, so we've been super reliant on the creatives. So the list is endless, whether it's musicians who performed for us and donated, made their concert a fundraiser for us. Maneja Beto. I'm trying to think of all the bands that have done that. The Chulita Vinyl Club, their DJ collective, Bidi Bidi Banda, has donated. The other DJ club. So the artists, they've either contributed their talent or they've come and helped the girls and helped them learn to DJ.
That's awesome.
And then you got
That's
the
really
techie
cool.
people that come in and have directed our girls to make a website or to design their own app, and that's from everywhere. But Dell, the OG tech in town, Applied Materials, to of course, all the new emerging companies that are glomming here, the Facebooks, the Googles, the Indeeds,
Right.
General Motors. There's ones, Box, Dosh. I mean,
Sure.
there is a continuum of creativity that's coming here and people that want to give back.
Right. And so the focus is, it seemed like it started on media and now it's evolved a little bit. There's more tech involved and things like that. Is that
so cool? And again, it's like everything expression, right? I think it just gives the girls like they're between the ages of 9 and 18. And maybe they don't know always how to articulate their challenges, their needs, their joys. So, I mean, something like virtual reality, they can use 360 filmmaking to tell a more intimate portrait. But also some of them just like we had synth kits that are sort of ambient sound making machines that Cirrus Logic donated, and so some of them just like to really fool around with the hardware.
Wow.
And then other ones just they're more into maybe the cultural crafts. Like we definitely go back to the analog projects.
Right. Cool. So, and do you find that when you go into the schools and you're doing outreach that these girls are they sort of handpicked, or do they kind of, you just go out and introduce what you do and they're just them that just were like, yeah, this is me, this speaks to me, I want to be involved?
Yeah, so, well, Latinitas, so one, there's a draw, like parents, the community that we speak to, we do a lot of promotion on Spanish language television, English language. Our social media feeds are pretty vibrant. So there's a draw, like parents are learning about us. And then some schools are directing their girls to Latinitas to participate in the after school program. But I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize, like Austin is very Latino. So 80% of our incoming kindergarten last year, the year before this year, it will be in the next 10 years, 80% is Latino. So actually, I think, we may look like something that's for a certain segment, but in the schools we're at, 97% of the students attending there are of Hispanic descent. So it's definitely, we've been saying a lot, the Amplify Austin is coming up. The future is female. Yeah. We're all getting that from all these great, movements of representation in our government leadership, entertainment, at the Oscars. But here in Austin, the future is definitely Latina, to be more specific. It's not just female. It's there's a prominence that's emerging.
Right, yeah. And so, is there anything else that you kind of want to bring up that we haven't covered yet? Or actually, you know what? If someone wants to get involved in Latinitas, what's the best way that they can do that?
Like I said, I mean, so many people have been attracted for the cultural reason, but you do not have to be Latino to volunteer at Latinitas. You don't have to speak Spanish. I think anybody who wants to see kids, kind of engage in something, overcome an obstacle, try things they haven't before, and they want to just be there to help them get to that idea or help them develop that idea.
Right.
We have a lot of opportunities where you can do that. You can volunteer in our one-day events, which are on the weekends. They usually all day. There's a lot of different ways to plug in. We need career presenters, like people who can just kind of share what they do. We use them a lot at summer during camp. We use them a lot during the one-day conferences.
So they don't necessarily have to have a specific skill set. You just kind of call in, email, see how they can get involved.
Sometimes we need just people to carry the heavy boxes. There's a lot of heavy boxes.
Right. Heavy boxes.
Something I wanted to say that I think. I think people know there's girl empowerment in Austin. There's other groups that are doing some similar things, but I think what's special about Latinitas is like one size does not fit all. I mean, we could tell our girls, like, you need to go to college, right? Or some people think that's just a given, that everyone would understand that. Where maybe there's some cultural barriers, maybe there's some economic barriers that we really need to specifically address with our girls. That maybe mom and dad don't want them to go far from home. I knew that was, when I was thinking about my own experience growing up, that was a very distinct thing, that, it was okay for me to go far. But my aunts, they didn't want my cousins to go very far. And that changes your trajectory. And also that, kids are, dealing with a lot. There's a lot of rhetoric coming at them. We are dealing with an administration that has like declared them enemy number one. They're 9 years old, they're 8 years old, and they feel it. And so there's something that we get to do where they get to process it, they get to address those anxieties, they get to be with a leader that they relate to, that they culturally connect to.
Right.
So you can serve Latinas in your program reach, but I think, are you really serving them? They can be in your reach, but are you doing things specifically to speak to their needs? Their successes too.
So in other words, I guess what you're saying is that there are a lot of other organizations where maybe they could find some help, mentorship in a sense, but maybe they're not speaking the right language for their outreach that they're going to respond to in a specific way.
There's no shortage of kids that need support and need that kind of guidance and help and like raising awareness.
Right.
So I don't think we'll ever run out of kids to do that. I do think the issues of girls, if it's done through a very generic lens, you're gonna miss stuff. I would say through the years, definitely all girls share the same pressures about body image, the same pressures about beauty. But then you layer, like I said, on top of that, you're getting, this negative rhetoric from your president. You layer on top of that maybe there's food deprivation, right? So you got body image problems, but maybe there isn't even enough to eat sometimes. So the disorders are different, or they're just they're tweaked, and so it gives us an opportunity to address those girl things that. Not everybody's going through the same girl things.
Right, sure. And so are one of the ideas or goals to help people, help the girls that you're working with get into college specifically? Is that more like just a byproduct? Is that kind of one of your focuses?
I think, media and tech has been so ideal for us as delivery devices. So we could address general empowerment. We could address like overcoming something hard. I mean, if they made a video game, it was like, all right, we got to set it up so that they ask each other for help, or she knows more than she knows. So I think what we do is we're setting them up for those scenarios of success, and particularly with expression. If you're comfortable expressing yourself, well, then you will be more apt to present your point of view, whether that is in an academic setting or a professional setting, and that's how you thrive, right? Or that's how you shift industry, or that's how we're going to shift commerce to be more inclusive.
So sort of like looking for that internal assertiveness that's needed to, like you said, to thrive, to be successfsul especially in a job situation,
it could transcend anywhere,
academic situation,
entrepreneurial,
social situations even.
Because in all those, whatever the girls end up doing, that those skills transcend, that they were, and particularly that their point of view was valued, and I think that's where the program part comes in. It's supported, it's encouraged, it's vetted out of that, so when they get to the next space where again they're maybe the only Latina, or maybe they're not sure if their opinion, point of view, project idea is going to be worthwhile. Sure. They're just much more comfortable presenting it, and I think that that can go anywhere. That
Absolutely.
Can go within your family unit. That can go with political aspirations. That is Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez. Like, we just had the girls do a letter to her, a representative from New York. She is that person that is saying what other people want to say, but have maybe felt encumbered and hindered, that they would be alienated. And what's happening is we're finding a lot of people are excited about what she's saying, because it's definitely a point of view that hasn't been elevated, like a young Latina woman in the U.S., but it's super valid. It's super meaningful. She's fomenting change. But yeah, you got to go back to the beginning where she has been. She grew up in a place where someone said that was okay.
Right.
And sometimes it just starts there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like you're starting a lot of things here.
It definitely was, you know, it had a life of its own. Alicia and I were students, like we had no money, so it became a web magazine first. The programs were in our free time. We were the leaders. I mean, because we were so into it. It had so much personal meaning, and so the passion drove it and drove the momentum, and that was contagious.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful. Like Austin is the place to do something like this. I still think it is. There were our old friends that we used to gather with in our early, late 20s, early 30s, and they would donate a piece of photography so that we could sell that we did a photography auction for many years. Currently, I mean, some of the culinary artists, some of the business person, everyone's kind of got their stake in their adult life now, and they continue to give back.
Well, like you had Swerza was here giving food, and they just got this big Texas Monthly write-up about one of the top 10 restaurants in Texas or something crazy. I mean, something. It was big.
Yeah.
It was big.
I mean, this Austin says yes to I guess entrepreneurial endeavors, passion projects but they gotta have impact. Like
Sure.
I think if the girls weren't having some sort of experience of empowerment, well, it wouldn't have had the momentum that it did. I think I always say that to people that want to start something. I mean, if it's meaningful, or you're gonna shift attitudes, and it's gonna create a better good. People are gonna pop out of the woodwork, and they're gonna support your mission. And for many years we did it, as volunteers, and then it became our jobs. But so many people came along and did it out of the goodness of their heart, and that's why we're exploring some programs this year. The opportunities are
That's cool.
vast.
Really cool. So, well, Laura, it's been a pleasure talking with you. This is really awesome. What is the website if people are listening right now and want to go check it out?
Thanks, Ryan, for the spotlight, because I think sometimes we're in our Latinitas community, and there's a bigger, greater Austin at large. Everybody's got their niche. People can go to the website latinitasmagazine.org. We are also going to be on the Amplify Austin docket if this comes out. But people can always give and their time or their donations. The Amplify is fun. It's one day, and it's like a sort of a.
What's the date?
That is coming out March 1st.
March 1st. Oh, I'm gonna have to edit this really quickly. Get this out and distribute it to get that.
Well, Amplify Austin, there's hundreds of agencies on there,
Yeah.
and everybody's doing good, and it's just it's a fun day. You get to see how much your city believes in you.
That's awesome, Laura. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
This
man.
is awesome.
Yeah. All right, great.
All right, so this is it, huh?
This is it. I mean, we
Sweet.
are empowering girls through media and tech. So
Yeah, what do we got over
our
here?
3D printer on display.
No
that we
kidding.
use mostly during the summer.
Wow.
There's a robot down there. A couple of robots.
Where's the robot?
It's in his robot suitcase.
So this thing here is a robot
We
suitcase.
have a variety of robots. I mean, thankfully to the tech community in Austin, they've all been donated. And then, we're also part of the East Austin Studio Tour, because we're not just media and tech. I mean, you have media arts that encompasses tech.
What does the robot do?
Some of the robots are spherical, and they mostly just coast along the floor. They're not. I would like them to clean and also probably
Make coffee?
write grants,
Make
and
coffee.
make coffee, but none of them.
None of them do that. Not yet. Not yet. We need to get these girls figuring out those solutions, right?
I mean, we have 2,400 square feet. This is the Center for Social Innovation. It's a new project. The Notley Fund founded it. It's called Springdale General, the overall space, because there's business also, but there's many nonprofits, a lot of artist studios on the first floor. You got Broad Studios. Eli Halpin is an artist in Austin for over 20 years. And then you got folks like us, but and then we got Texas Book Festival, the Parks Foundation. It's a really cool synergy. We're the only Latinos
Representing.
We're wondering how we can show that. Maybe a huge Mexican flag outside. We're just thinking about it. It's just
Okay.
we're workshopping the idea. So the interns like to house themselves in this area.
Okay.
Tulia's here
cool.
today.
Hi, Tulia.
She's representing.
You can show us it's not just an empty building. They're actually doing things. And what do you got over here?
Again, like I said, we do digital media and tech, but sometimes we get just down into cultural arts. These are homemade piñatas that the girls made, and they actually sold. It was part of our centerpiece at East Austin Studio Tours. Every artist involved or organization that wants to be in East Austin Studio Tour, they also provide a piece that is sold during their fundraiser.
Awesome.
Yeah. We have another, it's not a 3D printer, it's a pancake bot.
Okay.
Huge hit during camp.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use your computer to code out a pancake.
In the shape that you want.
Whatever you want.
Wow.
We keep all
I want to do that.
our VR viewers up here. We got a lot of cool stuff. I mean, Google, Facebook, Indeed, Dell. We've had wonderful generosity from partners to provide, the equipment that we need to stay 21st century.
Yeah.
But you just pop a little phone in there and can do VR viewing.
Wow.
It's our programs team.
All right.
Leadership.
What's going on, program team?
And we had a lab donated from LULAC.
Okay, is that what this is a lab?
This is,
here?
and so when we didn't have a lot of space, we couldn't access it all the time. We had to keep it in another building that we didn't always get to use, and it will be the Center for a Coding Ramp-Up Program. We're going to teach our girls how to code sophisticated level and just
Okay. And is this also part of the program as well?
Yeah, so this is part
Awesome.
of the room where we are going to actually have girls. But most of the time, this is a staff-driven space.
Gotcha.
You got more robots up here. You get Latinitas swag. We do have a shop on our website, and it's a part of fundraising. But also, it's very Austin. Keep Austin swag.
That's right. You have to. Otherwise, how are people going to find out? Excellent. Well, let's go into your office. You said you have some things you want us to look at.
This was our first coverage in the Austin American Statesman. I think it was like our very first coverage.
Get the glare out of there.
And can you maybe at an angle? And the girls wrote it. So here we were doing media production and tech use and innovation, and the girls actually wrote the article. There's about 12 Latinitas at Martin Middle School. What's very cool is that we're spending a lot of time now mobilizing our alumni. I mean, the girls pictured here are still involved. They have worked at camp. They have acted as career presenters. Some of them are still in academia. They've gone off to medical school, or they're producing at KXAN. We have a forensic scientist. We have a sci-fi makeup director. I mean, so many cool jobs. And a lot of them attributed to this creative experience they had in Latinitas. So.
Awesome. Now you have alumni coming back and helping support the younger generation. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's super cool. Actually, last year at our fundraiser, we honored an alumni. She works for the city government. She works for Councilman Rentoria's office. Her name is Lisette Melendez. She was presented by another alumni who's working. She's an experienced producer at Bumble. So we had like this multi-tiered mentorship going on. We have this multi-generational Latinitas experience going on. And that's a little bit of what's happened. There's definitely been a pay it forward kind of experience when the girls have graduated high school. Many have come back to be a club leader or like I said, maybe work as a camp director. And now they are my professional peers. So that's been really interesting.
It's like you're developing your own staff.
It is. And we received the computer lab from LULAC. That was in a partnership with General Motors. The person spearheading that at General Motors was a Latinitas alumni. So there is some really cool stuff that's happening.